welcome back. Road to Retirement podcast. Tony Marlette Jr. at Brookside Financial, joined by Zach Padden at Anselmo and Company Law. Today, we have a special guest, Mike Incorvaia Jr. here, 20-year veteran real estate agent. We're going to talk about all things real estate, all things going on right now. Mike is one of the owners of the Incorvaia team, which is a top real estate sales team in the state of Ohio. And I've worked with Mike before. I know a lot of people who have. He's been doing this 20 years. Mike, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I think that what you're doing here is really good because a lot of times financial planning and real estate, they immediately go hand in hand. And I think a lot of consumers out there, if you guys would agree, because you're meeting with them on a daily basis, have no clue on things they need to do to protect their assets. And they look at it very short-sighted, penny wise and pound foolish. The cost to get these things set up is very minimal in comparison to what could happen.
Yeah, we always talk about just deeds on my side with the estate planning. It's like if your deed is set up incorrectly, your family could be spending thousands of dollars in probate fees, let alone the time it's going to take to get the property, when a simple correction to your deed and understanding what the terms mean could make all the difference.
We just had a situation where a past client of mine who lives out of state has a very desirable lot. I won't say the city or where it's at, but a street with only luxury multi-million-dollar homes. And I had another agent call me from my team who knows that that's my client and said, "Hey, how come you're not listing that lot?" And immediately when I looked at it, I knew something was wrong. And I called my client and he said, "Somebody's trying to steal my property." So I called that realtor who was from the east side. This lot's on the west side. And I said, "Do you know this person? Because they're my client. Have you spoke to them?" She goes, "Well, they've texted me and emailed me to list the lot." And I said, "I think you better call them because you're being scammed," because it was about 100,000 under where it should be. Now, luckily, I caught it in its tracks and I stopped it. But where I was going with that, Zach, with you being the attorney over there, you set up trusts for people all the time.
Yep.
It is, if you have a paid off piece of land or a home, you see ads on TV all the time about title lock, just like they have life lock for your credit, they have title lock. This person who tried to steal my client's lot on the west side of Cleveland here was from San Jose, California. And they signed documents, signed a listing agreement, signed property disclosures, everything. I looked at the disclosures online. Every question was answered correctly. And we were able to do a reverse search and see that it was a 59-year-old guy from California. And, how they targeted a lot in this luxury neighborhood, I have no idea. But if that property, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not able to give legal advice, but you are. But if that property was in a trust, that agent would have had to say, who's the trustee? Who's the executor? Do you have a bank account set up for that trust? Can I see a copy of the trust documents? Like on my team, we have 50 agents on my team. We do 150 to 200 million in sales each year, year in and year out. We have a listing coordinator who's licensed. She, anytime a property is in a trust, stops the train dead in its tracks and says, "I need a copy of those docs. The title company's going to need the originals when they close. We cannot get it active until the listing docs read exactly how the trust is with who the executor is." That doesn't happen when it's just in your personal name, right, Zach?
Yeah, so it's in your personal name. I mean, just like you said, they can easily scam now. It's crazy how online people can do all this stuff. But having it in the trust, every title agency, every company is going to want to see a certificate of trust. They want to see who's listed as trustee. They're going to need to see the bank account information. They're going to need to see all this stuff. So you're right. It is a couple extra stops in the road to protect yourself. Now, nothing's foolproof, of course, but your procedure your company is running is 100% correct.
So if you have children and let's say you have a very expensive home and you have children and you pass away, how much easier is it going to be for them with a trust than having nothing?
So much easier. So if you think about it, if you don't have a trust, it's going to go under their guardianship. So then it's going to be under court supervision. If it's under the trust, the money's going to be held in trust by your trustee for your kid's benefit. My wife and I just set one up. We have a almost 2-month-old at home. He can't inherit property. I mean, it'd be nice if 2-year-olds could own some real estate, but if we both pass away, I want that money to be held for him, and I don't want the government telling me how to spend his money. I trust family to be that trustee and be in charge of it.
Exactly. We set one up on our house too. We have 3 daughters. It's like a no-brainer. But
Yeah.
the other thing too, and then we can move on to kind of what's happening in the market. But if you're doing a real estate deal and you're a client right now and you get annoyed because the title company wants you to submit your information through a secure portal, do me a favor. Don't get annoyed. Understand that they're protecting you. The big title companies out there, there's, a handful of them here in Northeast Ohio that are really reputable, and they use secure portals like Qualia that have SOC 2 security systems. They're doing that to protect you, to make sure all your information is encrypted so this kind of stuff doesn't happen. Now, I had a deal last year with a couple that was in their 90s, and the listing agent insisted we use this title company. They sent a PDF and an email to their AOL email account with the wiring instructions. Super.
See, you just don't do that. I mean, I won't email stuff. We have a secure portal, our vault, our electronic vault with Brookside. I'll tell people you're either dropping it off or putting it in the portal. I won't even email somebody a financial statement with just an account number on it. So all
100%.
these things, I mean, when somebody emails me, even if it's a known client, hey, I want to take X amount out of my portfolio, I'm calling them to make sure that it was them that sent me that message. And then if it's them, then fine, we'll send everything, but I'm not just taking instructions. You have to safeguard these things for security because we see these things happening all the time.
One way that I've circumvented for the older elderly clients, because they're not internet savvy, at our one title company that we use all the time at Infinity, I have the processor there get on the phone with them and collect the data to put it in securely, so they don't have to be stressed out about doing that. And we still know it's going through the secure portal. But it was just a little PSA. Don't get annoyed if you're doing a real estate deal, because this is what needs to be done now. But switching into gears of kind of what's going on in the market, what questions do you guys have of what's happening in the market? I'm sure you guys, with your side of the business and what you do and what you're seeing, might want to know what's happening.
I think right now, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, one thing I always hear people say is they're waiting. They're like, oh, I'm going to keep renting because rates are so high. They're like, oh my God, rates are going to drop. We're waiting for that. Oh, I'm going to wait for spring. Maybe there will be something better and rates will be lower. What's your thoughts when you hear people say that?
I think people get in their own way of buying sometimes, and the time when it's the right time to buy is when it's the right time to buy. Like when I sold Tony his house, they had another kid on the way, but he bought in the market in 22 going into 23 where they were third in line to get their house, and there was a line of people out the door. Here's what people don't understand. If I had $1 for every time I saw a realtor who wasn't an experienced agent online post, hey, great news, the Fed cut the rates today, I could take all of us to a high-end steak dinner. I'm telling you right now, and you guys know this being in the financial background, interest rates are based on the bond market. They're not based on the Fed. And actually, what's really funny, the last 2 times the Fed cut the rate, mortgage rates actually went up. So the exact opposite happened. I had a guy recently who was having trouble selling, needed to do a price reduction, and he said, well, let's just hold off like 2 weeks. The Fed's going to be doing a rate cut. And I said, sir, we have the lowest mortgage rates today that we've had in 13 months. So at the end of the day, I think it really comes down to when you're ready to buy. One of the phrases that I was not a fan of that a lot of agents were using was marry the house, date the rates. Did you see that, Zach, out there?
I heard that multiple times when we purchased our house 2 years ago.
So we have a lender that we work with that's really good, and he has where he codes the loan that you get one free refi at any point. It could be 10 years from now. That's different. They're not going in with the premise of, hey, you can't afford the house right now, but you'll refinance it later at some point. I think people need to just understand, because here's the problem. Let's say rates are in the low 6s right now. Okay. Let's say you're waiting. Let's say rates drop down to 5.5. Now, all of a sudden, you could have got that house at asking price or maybe just a tad under. Now you have 4 other people that want it, and now you're paying 20, 30 grand over.
Yeah, supply and demand 101, and that's a really good point, because when you said it was time about when it's the best time to buy, people don't. I use this analogy with people in their investments all the time. if somebody wants to sell their investments when the market's going down, obviously that's a really bad idea. But think of this like a house. You're not buying or selling a house to live in based on what the market conditions are. You're using your own personal situation. So even if rates are high, like you said, you're going to have probably less people in the market to fight with. But if your family's growing, you have to jump on it now. And then, like you said, you can always wait a couple years, build up some equity, do the refi, work things that way. But it's about when it's best for you, not what the external forces are.
If you're not buying a house as an investment property in an LLC as a business venture and have, what is the return, the ROI going to be on it and all that? If it's your home that you're living in, it's not an investment. It's your home that you're living in. Could you live there for 10 years and it goes up and you sell it and you make 6 figures? Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you're not buying it as an investment property. So with that, segueing into kind of what's going on in the market. So our office is in Strongsville. We're very close to where you guys' office is. Strongsville market has always been very desirable and people like Strongsville's market. But I just looked this morning. There's 69 homes on the market this morning. 4 months ago, there was 22. So that is tripled of what it was, but it's still only about half of what it was prior to COVID. So, it's still low inventory. But for the buyers that are out there that don't know what's going on or how to get a deal or what realistic expectations are, you need to work with an agent. And like with us, we do a buyer consultation and we explain what's going on. If I have a buyer that comes in and they say, listen, my main goal is to get 20 grand off on a house. Okay, that's fine. That's fine to have that goal. But we need to look in the MLS. So there's 69 properties. All right, Zach, here's 40 of the 69 that have been on the market for more than 20 days and they've had a price reduction. Those are the ones you may be able to get a little bit of a deal on. But if it's been on the market for 1 day and we drive over there and there's 20 business cards, houses that are still nice and still in good condition and good neighborhoods are still getting multiple offers. But when people ask me, Mike, what's going on? It's so sporadic. I recently had, within the last 24 months, two neighborhoods. One in High Point in Strongsville and one in Hunting Meadows. They're both neighborhoods in Strongsville that have been around forever that are desirable. We had 3 listings in each neighborhood at the same time. In my opinion, they were all similar size, similar condition, everything. Well, Hunting Meadows, for example, the one went in the first weekend with multiple offers over asking. The next one took 38 days to sell, and it sold just for asking with one offer. The next one, which is the weirdest thing, in my opinion, I thought was the best condition of all 3. That one was on the market for 72 days and had 3 price reductions before it sold. So there's no rhyme or reason to what's going on right now. So that's why you really need to work with an agent who understands what's going on. And if you're in the market for new construction, it's high and you're not getting a deal.
Yeah, we talk a lot about you can go online, do your own estate plan. You can get a robo advice on a financial portfolio for pennies on the dollar. So, and there's a time and a place for that. But when something big like planning for retirement or setting up your estate plan for your family comes in, you want to leave it to a professional. We talk about that all the time. It sounds like on this too, there's a lot of people out there who will say, well, I'll just use Zillow or I'll just use Realtor or Redfin or whoever. But there's still a really big value in using a real estate agent.
Oh, 100%. Because the one thing, like if I was to list one of you guys' houses right now and you said, well, we're just going to try it by owner. Do you have a relationship with the top 20 agents that are in your city? Do you work with them on a daily basis? Are you able to communicate with them and say, hey, I got this really nice colonial coming up in Brunswick that's going to be priced at this? We might have an offer for you immediately. We may be able to create multiple offers for you. Do you know how to navigate through the docs? Do you know, I can tell you when you get an offer on your house, this agent, might be difficult to deal with. This is an inspection company that you might run into issues. This lender, I've seen 3 deals fall apart from them before. There's things that I can see that I can let the seller know if it's going to be a smooth process or not. The guy who created forsalebyorner.com, it's a proven fact. You can look it up on Google. He ended up having to list his house with a full service broker and he paid a full commission and he created forsalebyorner.com. Problem with Zillow and Realtor.com and all that. Listen, our MLS is clunky. It's an old, antiquated MLS. Like when I was sending Tony properties when he was looking on the MLS, it was like, is there anything else out there besides what's on this MLS? And it's like, no, that's the data that's on the MLS. And consumers go on Zillow and Realtor.com, especially Realtor.com. Let's say a house is 3,000 square feet and it's got 1,000 square foot finished basement. So it's a 4,000 total square foot house. In the MLS, it's going to break down price per square foot based on floors 1 or 2, which is the way an appraiser would do it, which is the way anybody logically will do it. Realtor.com's algorithm is not smart enough to separate that out. So I'll get a customer that will call me and go, Mike, we got to get in this house. It's 4,000 square feet. It's $102 a square foot. It's a steal. It's going to be gone. And then I go in the MLS and I'm like, guys, it's been on the market for 80 days. It's $183 a square foot.
Right, because they count the basement, but you're not supposed to, or their algorithm doesn't figure that out. Isn't that part of it?
That is part of it. And just so the general public knows, because we're getting a little different audience here with you guys' audience than my normal audience, Zillow and Realtor.com do not care about accuracy for the consumers. They just want to get the masses out there, and then they want to sell leads to realtors. I could tomorrow wake up and say, I want to be the king of Bay Village. And for $6 or $7 grand a month, I will get every lead in Bay Village. My face will be plastered all over Zillow and that zip code, because that's how they operate. And, you know, our team does do a little bit of Zillow share, but we do our sphere of influence, branding, marketing, internet generation, social media, all of these things that are tried and true, where some teams just live and die by the sword of paid internet leads. And when that model shifts, you could go from doing 400 deals a year to 2.
Yeah. And I think like your industry as well, so much of it is word of mouth. If I have a great experience with you, I'm going to tell my friends, hey, here's who you should use. Or it's the same thing for us. We get a lot of referrals from existing clients, which is the best like compliment you can get, because it just shows somebody's trust in you. And I feel like real estate's the same way. You see your friends use this person, and you probably have a lot of clients that have been from previous clients, I'm assuming.
100%. I have some clients that I've done 5, 6, 7 deals with just that one client because I've been an agent so long. Like I have one client, she is the head of the music conservatory over at Oberlin University. She used to be with Baldwin Wallace Theater Department, world-renowned theater instructor. I literally have probably sold every one of her staff a home. And it's not, hey, you should maybe call Mike. It's basically her to the employees, like, if you don't call Mike, you're a moron.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, speaking of that, what do you think? Is that somebody that partially maybe makes up what an ideal client is for you? Do you have an ideal client, Mike?
Yeah, so I would say that any real estate agent who has a database and has their sphere, like since I've been doing it so long, we have thousands of people, but I would say there's probably like a couple hundred people, which would be family, friends, and then people that are like A clients that have done business with us multiple times. I will tell you though, however, in my business, so there was a time like our team does anywhere between 400 and 700 transactions annually for our team. There was a time where I was running 100 transactions myself annually, and it's very cumbersome. And now this year, I'll probably do like half of that, but double the volume, because like my last 5 sales have been 2.6 million, 1.5 million, 1.3, 1.2, 1.1. So getting into that higher price point, and it kind of has snowballed into doing some of those deals. But the thing about that is that's a completely different market. Any agent who just gets a license and this and that can go sell a bungalow in Parma or a ranch in Strongsville or a ranch in Brunswick. But when you start getting into that higher caliber, I released a YouTube video the other day behind the scenes of filming, doing video at that $1.5 million house. We're doing video, we're doing floor plans, we're doing twilight photos, we're doing drone, we're talking about features, we're doing niche marketing to people that can actually afford that. Just basically like how you guys would probably be doing for your ideal client. Like, what does the ideal client look like for you guys?
Well, I think for me, it's somebody who clearly wants to get something done, who has a stated goal. Like you said before, I think goal-based, with people who have goals, it's so much easier to do planning for them. people who come in with a goal, they have their financial situation. They know it. It's not just, oh, I think I have this here or that there. Accounts scattered all over the place. They bring it in and they want to consolidate. They want to get something stated done. Zach, what do you think?
I was going to say for an estate plan, it's anybody over 18. But realistically, the ideal client's honestly somebody who's went through the headaches of probate. They've went through where there's been issues with things, because then they truly understand the importance of what we do. So many people are like, oh, probate's not that bad. Go do probate one time and tell me again that you don't think it's too bad.
Well,
you're
and that,
wasting 6 months to a year of your time to get assets that are rightfully yours.
well, and not only I mean, we deal with estates quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You could have 5 siblings on the deal that all have to sign, that are all equal ownership, and then you got the one brother from California.
We talk about this all the time.
All the time. It's like clockwork. The other agent will be like, why can't we get this deal put together? And I'm like, because we got a brother in California who thinks that the house is $100,000 underpriced when we really have an offer that's like a record-breaking number on the house. It happens all the time when you have one out-of-state sibling or you have infighting with them that's going on, and it can make the estate type of deals. That's why with us, we don't put all of our eggs into one basket. We do a lot of new construction. We do luxury. We do first-time home buyers or corporate relocation. So, you never know what you're going to be getting into. But, another PSA for any realtors out there that might be watching this, you guys need to contact these guys, because if you're making a high income and you don't have an LLC set up and you're not paying yourself a salary and you're not making the max contribution into a SEP every year, you're missing the ball. And these guys can help you do that. You can offset so much tax burden by doing that while setting up savings for yourself in the future.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going back to you here. Thanks for plugging us there. But
yeah,
what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make? I mean, you always heard during COVID, everybody's like, you got to waive inspection to get this house. There's so many offers.
So
Mike loves, he loves when people waive inspections.
Yeah, right. The reason I don't love it, and I'll just tell you this, is because I'm not in this game for 1 year. I'm in this for the rest of my life. My wife, Kara, who is Tony's cousin, is licensed now. And we have about 50 agents on the team, and we have turnover having that many agents. And, I'd rather have my wife working with some of these clients, but we're not going anywhere. And I will not let you waive an inspection. Even if Tony said, I'm buying tomorrow, and he said, I just really don't want to do an inspection, I want to get this, I would say at least do the inspection and put a cap on it saying, I'm not going to ask for any repairs unless they exceed a certain dollar amount. So then that way, if something major comes back, you can say, geez, I didn't expect this to come back, because we are now seeing the ripple effect. I'm friends with a lot of real estate attorneys, and we're seeing the ripple effect of things that are happening from that 2020 to 2022 period where people were just waiving inspections. And guess what? If you sign off on the inspection, waive the inspection, all of this stuff, you saw a property disclosure that said, yeah, we had water intrusion in the basement, and you still waived it, you have negative 10% chance to go after that person legally because you waived all your rights. You bought the house as is. Now, another piece of that, we're not seeing that as much as we used to. People are getting inspections now, but I did speak to a friend of mine who is a pretty prominent real estate attorney, but he mainly does evictions and some other things. And he said this language that some agents were putting on contracts where they were writing, general home inspection is for buyers' informational purposes only. That is super gray. That does not, it's either black or white. You're either getting an inspection or you're not getting an inspection. So that's why we moved to, if somebody was really stuck on doing that, I would say, well, what's your threshold? And they would say, well, anything under $5,000, I'll take care of. Okay, buyer's doing an inspection for their knowledge purposes. They will not ask for any repairs unless they're a health or safety issue or exceed $5,000 to repair. That's super crystal clear, and it's laid out, and you're going into it. And we've been able to secure deals. The other thing that we're not seeing as much now, did you have an appraisal gap, Tony, when you did yours? I can't remember.
Yeah, yes, we did.
So when Tony bought his house in 22 and 23, when we were looking, every deal had an appraisal gap. And it said, okay, we're buying this property for X. If it doesn't appraise for this, we'll make up the difference. Now, people didn't care because rates were awesome. In 2021, rates were still sub 3%. And they said, well, I don't care if I pay 30 grand over, I'm getting this amazing rate. And that's also one of the contributing factors. Those people who bought, why we have low inventory, nobody's moving out of a 2.75 rate for a 6.25. Now, if rates get to 5, people will move from a 3 to a 5.
Yeah. That's interesting. With again Mike Incorvaia Jr. of the Incorvaia team. We're gonna wind up for today, but I think we should have you back at some point because there's a lot of overlap, and we can definitely
we didn't even get into
we can keep going
nightmares
on this. Yeah.
Well, I could give you guys one. So, like, what's one question you have about DIY nightmares? I know you mentioned that to me. Like,
what is the worst DIY project you've seen finished in a house you were taking a client through?
Oh my God. If you're putting luxury vinyl plank in, that's fine. It's pretty easy to install. It's click lock and all that. I've seen some nightmare tile jobs that homeowners have tried to tackle. If you're getting your kitchen cabinets painted, do not paint oak cabinets with a 4-inch roller yourself. Hire a company to spray them and make them look really good. But I'll leave you guys with this. I had a house recently where I went into the house in Strongsville, $575,000 house. They had a dog. Their kitchen floor had some wood floors that were like gouged up from the dog scratching. They were so nervous about that, but my OCD goes into effect when I walk into a house and I notice they need mulch, they need bushes trimmed, they need the patio power wash, the driveway power wash, they need the windows cleaned, they had cobwebs on the light fixtures. We went through all that stuff. They spent $1,600 doing all those little things and left the floor alone. They got 7 offers. They sold for $605 from a $575. Not one person said anything about the floors. What the people did say is, oh my God, the landscaping's beautiful. The windows are sparkling. The house was deep clean. So I'll leave you guys with that. If you have somebody out there who's selling a house, the big projects are important, but it's more important to walk into a house and it's clean. You don't have plugins plugged in the wall where it smells like French vanilla or something weird. And get that house, eat off the floor, sparkling clean.
That curb appeal makes a difference too. Like you said, the outside appearance.
I oftentimes I'll drive. There's a few houses in our development that are not as well kept, and I'm oftentimes just like, it's not about what other people think, but it's more about, like you said, if the landscaping and all that is a disaster, then what does the inside look like?
Well, 100%. And think about that. They spent $1,600 and they sold $30,000 over ask. And the person who bought it did say, yeah, we are going to redo the floors, but we're going to sand them and we're going to stain them. But verbatim, the house was just in such great condition. Otherwise, we overlooked it.
Right.
But I do get sellers. Our CEO of our company said a line that I think sticks hard. Buyers think it's 2008. Sellers think it's 2021. It's neither.
That's good. That's really good advice.
But I would be happy to come back on anytime with you guys. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you guys having me on. And then anybody who's watching this, these guys are awesome for all your financial needs.
So speaking of that, how can people contact you?
They can contact me. Our website is www.greaterclevelandlife.com, or they can look me up on Facebook, Mike Incorvaia Jr.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, Mike. Yeah, we'll have you back sometime. For Zach Patton, Mike Incorvaia Jr., Tony Marla Jr. at Brookside Financial. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.